Hey everyone, we're a few days into 8.15 now. I've been stalking Korea every day to find some stuff that's much better than before, to give you a few ideas of new things you could try, or at least stuff that might not have worked last patch that will now. Cassian is such a good example of that, so he is going to kick us off today. As the game slows down just that little bit, we can get away with that double stacking build again in most games. He is notoriously weak early game and always has been really. If you're going to shut him down, you shut him down in the lane phase, and he's good against AP champions, but not so much a Talon or a Zed that is going to get in his face and do a lot of damage. Rod of Ages and the tier build was too slow. It was something that we did in the preseason and the start of season 8 that made Kassadin really good. Now we can actually run that again if we want to, and it offers a really good scaling option. We can also just go for Lich Bane second to jump into a little bit more damage, turning Kassadin kind of into a more of an assassin really. He jumps in, bursts with that Lich Bane super hard. You have this insane mid to late game, the #1 overall mid between 30 and 40 minute games in Korea. That is exactly why you would pick Kassadin over something else. Fleet Footwork is also such an underrated rune for Kassadin. It sounds a little bit troll, but you have a better lane phase, not in terms of damage, but at least you can survive and heal back. But it also had its AP scaling buffed a few patches ago, so basically all the AP that you're going to be building, which is quite a lot on Kassadin, is going to feed into that heal and make it heal for more. You could go for Comet, you could go for Grasp, you could go for Aerie if you want to. Fleet is just the same reason why you would take it on a weak AD carry in the lane phase like Kaiser to survive. Take this stat with a pinch of salt, but if Seraph's Embrace completes over in Korea, you win close to 65% of those games, which is insanely high. But now if the game ends when you still have Archangels, so it's not upgraded, you're going to win close to 45%. That is probably the best way that I can show you. Time makes a massive difference for a Kassadin. He is really good for solo queue though. He can hard carry games. Every game is comebackable, this new word that everybody's throwing around. If you wait long enough, you get a few items, you will be able to stomp the game. You might have forgotten that Lowy even existed in this game. He hasn't been meta for a while, not since preseason really, but he's a real mid-game god honestly with Kleptomancy. Part of this is the new rune and item setup that we are seeing a lot right now, not just in the top lane, kind of in the bot lane a little bit, mostly mid and top actually. It is the Corrupting Potion start. Now obviously you save some gold on this on potions and stuff, but spells and attacks burn them over 3 seconds, so you basically pop it mid-fight, you actually then trade and you do extra damage. That obviously is nothing new, but Time Warp Tonic is a semi-new rune, I guess, in the bottom row of Inspiration. Potions last 20% longer and gain 5% move speed. So this is actually going to extend Corrupting by 20%. Not only the healing, but also the extra damage part of that. So you can trade for a longer window now, and you can actually do bonus damage for longer when you have it active. It isn't just the start, obviously, but that is something quite a few champions now are doing for that specific synergy, and it works on a lot of champions. It's actually really powerful because you do a lot more damage in those early fights. Syrinx has been reworked since we last saw Alawi as well, so more AD for her abilities now, and she does actually have pretty good AD scaling across her entire kit. When you have Syrinx, you get a bit more tanky, but then you throw Death Dance in as well, which has the bleed effect, so kind of makes you a bit more tanky in that way. She is a really good teamfight champion after those items until you get to proper late game. Alawi is definitely underrated. You can carry a game with her for sure. She's quite good versus bruisers. Still, people don't really understand how she works, and you can use that against them. I think the point is her lane phase is better with this new synergy with Time Warp Tonic and Corrupting Potion, and then you have this kind of like high damage champion that is quite difficult to kill in different ways with a big shield and then the bleed effect and the healing. We're going to move into the bot lane, which is the complete opposite. Kaiser is so easy to kill, but she is my go-to right now. So powerful and so much more fun now with the Stormrazor build. I did a video on this last week, I think, but Kaiser in Korea has actually had a pretty bad win rate the past few patches, getting smashed by all of these Yasuos and Swains, or like Draven and Misfortune, who are just so good in the lane phase. Kaiser is a scaling AD carry, you have to remember that, right? But now she is back into the top 10 again, and mostly because of this new build. Stormrazor lets you upgrade your Q and your E quite early with Rage Bait second. You can't actually instant upgrade them anymore, sadly, because of these Stormrazor changes. It reduced the attack speed and the AD on there, so it doesn't insta upgrade. Now when you get Rage Bait after though, your Q is going to upgrade at level 9, so you just get a bit of AD per level basically, and the same for attack speed. Your E is going to upgrade at level 11, so it's a little bit later, but it's still really good. You get your Q, your E upgraded, and then you have options afterwards. You can go into crit, you can go into Runins, it's more AoE damage. You can go for like Infinity Edge after that as well, and just kind of go ham for your auto attacks. You can also go AP though, which is what I really like doing. So you get your Nashes, which upgrades your W, then you get your Zhonya's, your Death Cap. You don't scale up your Stormrazor as much, and you can replace it super late game, but it does give you a huge damage boost. boost. Runes are really flexible on Kaiser, which is another thing that I love. Fleet Footwork is what I run at the moment because I go into the AP build. We talked about AP scaling being a bit better, but Conqueror actually works. Press the attack is good. Lethal tempo isn't bad either. You're still going to be best like past 30 minutes into a game because you are Kaiser, but this build has let us do more in the lane phase. It gives you more upfront damage, not scaling up Rageblade. When you get into a fight with Rageblade as your first item, you really need those stacks before you're actually going to be doing that much, and that is actually time that normally you don't have. Stormrazor is upfront burst. As soon as you dive into a fight with Stormrazor, you're going to be doing more with your Q and also with your first auto attack. You've probably seen this a little bit already, to be fair. It came in at the end of last patch, but it's made Kaiser a lot better in Korea. The Korean god of support is actually making a comeback this patch finally as well with Blitzcrank. This patch we saw the potion changes come in, right? So you can only have 2 potions to start the game now as a support instead of 3. For poke champions, we talked about this. It's just much easier to get through those 2 potions and then you can poke them down and easier to kill them after that. For engage though, we haven't really mentioned this, but if you don't one-shot them, so if Blitzcrank pulls them in and then they have to burn their 2 potions to heal back up, after that they are screwed. If you hook them again, they're basically dead. Most champions as well, most AD carries are rushing damage, like Stormrazor for example, so it gives them burst. The hook is basically more likely to result in a kill because the AD carry can actually contribute a little bit more to it. In this meta as well, every hook is going to mean something again. There's no tank to block it or anything like that. If you hook an assassin, you hook a mage, or you hook the jungler, like all of those are going to be pretty good targets to get. It sounds kind of weird, but Blitzcrank is like the master of feeding an AD carry kills. Like he's so good to play with because he's most likely going to get you fed with a few good hooks. Why that's important is because a fed AD skips a lot of the problems that the role has at the moment. You give them an influx of gold early into the game, they skip that kind of like point where they're not very strong, they get their items sooner and they're able to actually carry the game. In Korea, they actually love running Righteous Glory and Zeke's on the Blitzcrank though. The 2 items are so good on him to get a bit more action going, and Zeke's is a massive damage boost. I think he's one of the best supports up until about the 3 item point in the game. Then you're going to struggle a bit more because the hook doesn't mean as much, so it's best to use him to get ahead, then roam and snowball just like you would have before. It's the first time he's had a decent win rate in like the past 6 patches or more. I think all of these changes are making people fight a lot more in the lane phase, which is exactly what Blitzcrank wants. This one came out of nowhere 2 patches ago. Pantheon Jungle is now in the top 10 for the jungle role, and this might actually be one they got from NA instead of the other way around for once. He is just another early game damage jungler who wants to gank a ton, cheese a lot of kills, and well, just kill stuff. You do a lot of damage in this meta with the lethality build. It's the same reason you'd pick a Zed or a Talon or something like that, or Kha'Zix for example, right? You're stacking lethality, you're going to shred these early squishy targets. Your ultimate is amazing to gank behind lanes. When people feel like they're safe, they have wards and stuff, it just doesn't matter against a Pantheon. You can hard punish that. Most people do not expect it yet either. If you're ahead, it becomes so easy to burst people like in one rotation, but almost always you're going to be useless if you get behind. Now, of course, in Korea, they run Moby Boots. They always actually try to level 2 gank a lane as well. It's kind of like a Jarvan, for example. You go buff, you get your W second, and then you jump in and you actually try and kill somebody, or at least blow their flash. He's pretty good at ending games before 30 minutes. A lot of that is the heavy ganking style and like the cheese and stuff, but after that, he's going to fall off a little bit. His ultimate plays around the lane phase, not grouping. You can obviously win, it's just a lot harder. Give it a try though if you like aggressive junglers, and if you have a plan, so think I'm going to go red buff and then I'm going to gank mid or something and snowball from stuff like that, I promise you he can just stomp all over a game, but it is about getting those ganks and then getting those fights. Let's get onto the other side of the bot lane at the moment. Korea is obsessed with bot lane Swain. It also has the highest win rate except Heimerdinger out of any champion bot. Basically all because he stomps the lane phase. They figured out that if you claw, you pull into the eye, you Q as well. It's like 60% of an AD carry's health bar completely gone. Then you add in the support's damage after that and the ignite, and they're probably dead from one spell hitting into all of that afterwards. Something that I figured out when playing against Swain is that spell, we're talking about Never Move by the way, so his E, the claw thing that pulls you back in with his passive, has 850 range. AD carries attack range is between 500 to 600 normally, so if they want to farm, they're gonna get smashed for it and be in range. He's actually replaced Draven as a champion bot lane who wins the fastest in the game, but because you're replacing the AD carry in the team, you tend to not have the best late game, at least as a team comp. Swain himself isn't that bad late game, that's not what I'm trying to say, but you've got no AD carry on your team unless you picked it in another role to back up your team's damage, and that can kind of hurt. Most are still taking phase rush as their key, so but there are 2 things. So Avery is actually actually pretty good on him. You can constantly bounce it between you and the enemy for more damage. And also that Alawi trick that we talked about, taking Corrupting Potion and Time Warp Tonic, is really strong on Swain. So Jack's top has been smashing it recently and just steadily getting better and better. This patch is breaking top 5 now for the role and probably one of the best actually to climb with. Jax is insane late game, right? The trade-off should be that you are going to be a bit weaker early game, but this season right now that doesn't really happen. He has like such an even, steady game. You can fight in the lane phase, you can do well if you play it correctly, and he turns into a monster later. Part of that is because there are so many good builds now depending on how the game goes. It's going to help a ton. If you're ahead, Essence Reaver is a monster item. It's actually one of the best items you can pick up from for pure damage. You pop your ultimate, you have really low cooldowns, but it's best when you're ahead. Sterix is awesome in any game though. Your Guardian Angel is there to dive in. Blade the Ruined King even is there to melt tanks or to split push. Rage Blade has ridiculous synergy. Gunblade healing makes him even harder to kill. I could honestly keep going with a bunch of other items. The point is you have a lot of different things that you can buy to match the game how it's going at that point, so you can kind of adapt as you go. Running Precision and Inspiration is really strong now, and again it is the Corrupting Potion and Time Warp Tonic. It's making all of these champions who want to trade with it even better and stronger earlier into the game during those trades. If you get to late game, it's almost a free win. Like you can split push, you can team fight, whatever you want to do, but if you get a few ganks in the lane phase or you make his lane phase better with that Time Warp Tonic trick, you'll suddenly skip ahead to that point and be even stronger. So that is going to wrap up the champions that I spotted doing much better in this patch. I'm actually really curious though how many of you watch until the end of these videos. So if you're still here, leave a comment saying still here so I can kind of have a look. But thanks as always, and I'll catch you all tomorrow.